I saved the man who hated me in the middle of a fire." "Wait, what?" Roger yelled in the locker room. "Shh, be quiet. I don't want anyone else to hear," I said. "You're messing with me, right, Jason?" he said, still in shock. "I've never been more serious about anything like this in my life," I said. "That you're gay?" he asked. "I always thought you were straight, bro." I was beginning to regret the decision that I made by telling Roger, the secret I had been holding in me for a long time. I told him I was gay, and the 1,000-yard stare he gave me was like he saw a ghost. I told him because he was the one I was closest to. He had been trying to hook me up with a couple of women because I revealed to him that I was single. I just had to tell, but I did not know he was going to react that way. Almost everyone's cool with the community. It won't hurt to tell him, I had thought. "I've never been straight," I said. "For real. How long have you been crooked?" he asked. I took it as a joke. "All my life, I guess," I replied. "You're cool with it, right?" "So each time we dress in the locker room, what thoughts go through your mind?" he asked. "Roger, I'm curious, forgive me," he said with disbelief. "You have nothing to worry about." He muttered. He then stood to his feet and said, I've got to go." "Okay." He was about to step out of the door when I called him. "Hey, Roger?" "Yeah?" "Please don't tell anyone. I would like to reveal to them in my own time. I told you because I see you as a close friend," I said. "Sure, you can trust me," he said, and showed a wry smile before leaving. I knew by the way he looked that he couldn't keep it in him for long, yet I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. The next day, I came to work with the brightest smile like every other day, but it soon faded. It faded because of the way they all stared at me like they knew something about me. There was a weird way my closest colleagues behaved when I greeted them, the wry smile when I cracked jokes they would normally laugh to. Roger had spilled the beans. "I know you all know," I said to all of them in the locker room. "Know what?" asked Roger. "I know you told them, Roger," I said. "Told them what?" he asked. I knew he was feigning innocence. "Come on, dude. He knows we know already," a colleague called Jim said. "No," Roger muttered, trying to defend himself. "Roger," I said with a stern look. "Okay, fine, I told them. I'm sorry," he said. "But I trusted you," I said. "I had to tell them, man. You don't keep such things from people," Roger said. "Especially that sometimes we drop the soap," another colleague called Bill said. There was a laughter for a while until they noticed me. "We're happy for you, man," Jim said. "Yeah," Roger said too. "Thank you, Roger, for telling them my secret when I specifically told you I was going to do it in my own time," I said angrily. "Sorry, man." I could not stand looking at him because I felt like punching him. The weirdness didn't stop there with them. They kept doing it in different ways and fashions. First, they always had to leave the locker room for me to dress, or they would dress up before I came into the room. They all must have asked themselves the same question about when we changed in the locker room. Sort of the same thing happened in the locker room happened in the shower. It was either they didn't enter the bathroom while I was having my bath, or I wasn't. The time I entered while they were having their baths, I could see the horror on their lathered faces while covering their nudity from me. "Don't drop the soap, guys," Bill announced them. "As long as you don't, you're safe." It was always Bill making the jokes, and it was always about me. It used to be me making the jokes, and I was the funniest in the room before, but it was now Bill. Bill used to be part of the guys laughing at my jokes, but he was now my bully. I did not know why he hated me. Each day, I was always made to suffer for my stupid decision of telling Roger. If only I could turn back the hands of time. Each day always had me wishing the whole weirdness and jokes would die down and we would go back to normal, but nothing changed. To make matters worse, Bill always made me look stupid in front of the guys. I grew far apart from the guys I called friends, even though one or two made tiny efforts to not make me feel lonely. It was never the same because they soon left me alone. The following week, we now ate lunch separately and I had to always watch them eat and laugh from a distance. It was always Bill cracking the jokes. I could not take it anymore and had to speak out one day to them in the break room. "Can you guys please stop?" I asked them. "I'm sorry, Jay. We can't stop speaking because you're, Bill said. "That is exactly what I'm talking about. Your voices are loud to my ears because you all shut me out because I came out. Why are you all acting like I'm filthy?" I asked. "Nobody sees you that way, Jay," Jim said. "Then why the hurtful jokes, leaving the bathroom and the locker room?" I asked angrily. "They're just harmless pranks and gags, you dumbo," Bill said. "If you want to blame anyone for feeling left out, don't blame us. The fault might probably be from your end." "I'm not a dumbo and I was not talking to you, Bill," I said angrily. I'm pretty sure I'm part of those whom you called guys. Excluding you, Bill, I said. Whatever, Bill replied. Yeah, avoid me from now on, I said. Says the elephant in the room, Bill replied. There was a light laughter in the room. I could not stay in that room to speak any more. I had to leave. Every day from then, I stayed distant from them, always fuming silently as they continued with their weirdness. I started to think of leaving altogether to get another job. My love for the job was the only reason I still remained on the job, but day by day, my love was beginning to wane. 4 days later. My job was like hell for me. I was a firefighter who could not pull out the fire burning me. Each day, my hatred for Bill grew. It was like he was looking for a fight from me and he was getting closer to getting it from me. This day came when he made one of his stupid jokes that I had to rise to my feet with my fists clenched ready to throw them at his face and let him bleed. Oh, Bill exclaimed with excitement. What do you think you want to do? Fight me? You're a jerk, Bill. Has anyone told you that? I said. No, I'm just hearing that from you, he said. Yes, you're a jerk. Always using me to score cheap points. You're so little in mind, man. People like you use toughness to mask their insecurities. You're a bully, Bill, I said to him. Oh yeah? So what are you gonna do about it, big guy? Are you gonna punch me in the face? He asked and literally pushed me, almost making me fall. Stop, Bill, I'm warning you. My fist was prepared at this point. The anger was rising inside me. He kept pushing me. Oh, I'm scared, he said, and heard a light chuckle from the guys around. Bill, come on, hit me in the face, I dare you, he said, and stretched his face to me. There was no response from me until he said, That's what I thought. A chick. I did not let him complete his words before my punch landed on his face, throwing him a few feet from me. When he raised his head and saw that he was bleeding a little at one of the corners of his lips, everyone was shocked that such happened. My attention was now on their startled faces, distracting me from seeing that Bill was coming at me with his fist, which landed on my face. It did not stop there. We continued fighting while people tried to separate us. Stop it, Jason, Jim shouted at me. You did not hear him ask for it? You didn't know he was just trying to rile you up? I thought you were mature, he said. Oh, I'm immature? I've been holding it in for long, and now I'm a villain for putting him in his place, I asked angrily. No one has been more immature than him. You are all immature. If you never knew, always avoiding me like I am cow dung on the curb. Couldn't you report to the chief about it, or tell me about it? Or have you forgotten I'm your captain, he replied. All these happened right in front of you. Don't you try that sudden righteousness here. I thought you were my friend, Jim, I said with fury. I thought all of you were my friend. You all backed out when I came out of my closet, which took a lot of courage because I thought you all were my friends, but apparently you all are not. Shut that hole you call a mouth. All you do is blabber like that baby you are, said Bill. I'm gonna, I said and threw another punch at him, but I was stopped halfway by the strength of about 2 or 3 men. I tried to reach him, his smiling face, but kept holding me. I hate you, Bill. I hate you, I kept yelling at him. What's going on here? Said the resounding voice of the chief that suddenly stopped the fight. What the hell is the cause of all this noise? The room remained silent and no one wanted to speak. Our heads were bowed, staring at our feet like remorseful boys. Bennett, he said. He always called me by my last name. Why are you and William bleeding? He started it, Chief, I said. No, you started it, you piece of shit, Bill yelled. I'm gonna make you bleed again, I said. You were lucky the other time. You would... William, the chief retorted. 2 adults acting like boys in 3rd grade. You forget this is a workplace, huh? Sir, I muttered. I don't want to hear it. Let's go to my office to receive judgment, he said. Freaking kids. He leaves our presence. Bill gave me a stare of death before walking out of the room. I followed behind him, already feeling the pain from his punch on my cheek. Fighting over a woman, huh? The chief said to us. Bill chuckled as soon as he heard his words. Something funny, son? It would have been probably good if we were fighting over one, but one of us isn't attracted to women, he said. So what are y'all fighting about? Asked the chief. He's just being a baby, can't take a joke, Bill said. Well, says the person who can't take a punch. You're lucky Jim and the others held us down. I would have broken your jaw into pieces, he said. I would have you know your tiny fist barely did nothing to my face, I retorted. You know what? That's what your boyfriend said to... Shut it, both of you. That's it. I'm sending you both to anger management for 2 months, the chief said. Wait, what? I exclaimed. No, I don't want to be in the same room with this guy for 2 months, Bill said. You will learn to be tolerant and not be a bully there, William, the chief said. You will also learn not to throw a punch, Bennett. Chief, I don't want to hear anything. That was how Bill and I found ourselves in anger management. I began to wonder what would happen in case they could not control us because I knew another fight was going to happen again. It was bound to happen. God, I hate this jerk so much, I said to myself. The next day. We began anger management immediately the next day. You can imagine sitting in the same room with the one you hate for 2 hours listening to someone ask questions with a slow voice. Today is going to be a long day, I thought. Let's start by acknowledging why you're here today. This is a safe space to talk about what led to your conflict and how we can work on controlling those impulses. Jason, why don't you begin? What happened yesterday? The therapist called Dr. Wallace said. I glanced at Bill in annoyance before answering. What happened is Bill pushed me to my limit. He has been at my throat since the day I came out. Now I regret ever making that decision. I see. So it's about more than just a disagreement. It's something deeper. Bill, how do you respond to that? Look, I won't pretend I've been nice to him, but he has always had a chip on his shoulder, acting like he's better than the rest of us, Bill replied. What? I gasped and laughed. Better than the rest of you, or that is just your insecurity speaking? I tried to do my job and mind my business, but every time I turn around, there was some snide comment, some joke. You think you're the only one dealing with crap? I've got enough on my plate without you making everything about you, Bill yelled. I wanted to say something when Dr. Wallace raised his hand, signaling us to pause. All right, let's hold on for a second. There's frustration on both sides, but we're not here to argue. We're here to get to the root of that frustration. Jason, how do Bill's comments make you feel? It makes me feel like I'm not welcome, like I don't belong in the firehouse, and I've had enough of that outside the station. It's not easy being in my shoes. I thought the team would have my back, but Bill has made it clear he doesn't. Bill, do you realize the weight of those words? How your behavior might have impacted Jason? I didn't really think about it that way. I guess I was just pissed off at a lot of things, and I used him as my stress ball or punching bag to release the emotions, he said. I turned to him surprised. He was speaking that way. That's a start, said Dr. Wallace. Everything he said after that was barely heard because I was lost in my own thoughts. What could the idiot be keeping to himself that he has to bully me to escape from his problems? I thought to myself, stress ball? Punching bag? But for what stupid reason could it be for me to be your stress ball? You didn't think you were hurting me? Like I'm a non-living thing like a punching bag? I asked angrily. Jason, please calm down. I know I said this is a safe space, but please be... I didn't let the therapist finish. Dr. Wally, I just want to say my mind. This is a safe space. Everyone made me feel alone, but he made me miserable. I just want to know the reason why he would do all that, I said angry. Jason, I knew I was right when I said you had a little dick and you were hiding behind all that toughness, all that jerkness. You were very quiet before I came out, then you took that position so you could matter. You made my sexuality into a topic of your stupid jokes. Made me miserable. You're an enormous jerk, Bill, I said with annoyance. Bill remained quiet. This is ridiculous, I said and walked out of the room. I had to walk back into the room when I remembered that our session had not finished. Later that evening, after that session, I was about to leave when I saw something that got my attention. I had to move closer to check if what my eyes were seeing was real. I saw Bill crying in his car. Did my words get to him? Was I harsh with my words? I thought. I wanted to attempt to go toward his car, but I stopped as soon as another thought came. No, he deserves it. I entered my car, still looking in Bill's direction, and then I drove away, wondering what could be making the man cry in his car. The next 2 weeks. For the remaining days in the following week, I didn't bother asking Bill the reason he was crying. He probably wouldn't have wanted me to see him in his moment of weakness. Bill had gotten there earlier. He was waiting by the office door. We made no effort to greet each other, but he didn't use any of those jokes or snide remarks. The therapist saw all that and decided to do something. Something crazy. He had us tethered and locked to each other. We wouldn't move more than 2 feet from each other. He had the keys to the locks of the tether. It is a phase, Dr. Wallace said. How do I use the restroom or have my bath? Bill asked. What do you think? Dr. Wallace said with a smile. What? No, I yelled. Bill soon joined me in grunting and grumbling. None of what we were saying got to him. He just stared at us with a smile. There was nothing we could do. Each time the guys saw us, they always laughed at us. It was embarrassing, but I was happy I was facing it with Bill. Soon, we began the session, and the therapist set up a task where we would both work together during our fire drill, with the supervision of the chief while still tethered. It was so frustrating. The first thing we did before beginning the drill was argue. We argued about how to breach a door during a fire. Is this anger management working or not? The chief asked. I don't think so, I said. Oh, what might be the reason? He asked. We just can't stand each other, I said. Well, then I guess I would have to extend it by a month, the chief said. What? No, please don't, I begged. I will think about it if you both stop this babyish nonsense. We tried doing it, but our egos and hatred wouldn't let us. The tether was stopping us. As days passed, it got more frustrating. The next week. You can imagine how it was when I would try to go one way but Bill would refuse and vice versa. It was usually a tug of war. We didn't agree about anything else, but we both agreed that being tethered sucked. It got frustrating to the point where I started to think of how to cut it. Where are you going, idiot? Bill asked me. You forget we have been cursed to stay with each other for 100 years. I'm trying to get the bolt cutter, dimwit. I'm in. Shh, be quiet. We stealthily walked to the apparatus bay. I looked for the bolt cutter while Bill was on the lookout. I freed us with the bolt cutter and then we went back to bed. I was having a good sleep when I was woken up by the loud laughter of my colleagues. I opened my eyes and saw it was me they were laughing at. I wondered why they were laughing until I turned down and saw I was still tethered to Bill. Did that all happen to me in my dream? Bill woke around that moment and was as shocked as I had been. How the hell did this happen? Bill asked. It's the chief's doing. He wants to see you, Roger said. Thought you could escape, huh? They all laughed and walked out of the room. Ugh, I grunted angrily. What the hell? Bill groaned. You agreed to get each other out of that tether. How about you use that same energy to successfully pass the fire drill? The chief asked. We just sat there, silent, boiling on the inside. We had tried that drill several times, but it just was never successful. The chief took us to the training ground. Then he told us to start the breach all over again. At first, we both just stood, not wanting to move. I don't have all day, you both. Get those legs working, he said, and clapped. Bill turned to me and leaned toward me to whisper. You know, I know we can't stand each other. How about we pretend to agree on this so we can get out of this stupid thing? Okay, I said grudgingly. Cool, so how do we go about the breach? I have an idea, I said. If only you would go ahead with it. Let's just go on with it, he replied. Then we went on with my idea and soon we passed the fire drill. I couldn't believe that worked out. We almost gave each other a high five but soon remembered we were enemies. We awkwardly put our hands down. Nice idea, by the way, Bill said. Yeah, I know, I said. Thanks. The next 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, Dr. Wallace eventually decided it was time for him to remove the tether. He said we had grown. There was nothing that surprised me more than who Bill became after those 2 weeks. Bill became a different person. The old Bill I knew before he became a bully. He started to act nice to me, greeting me every morning and buying me coffee. I was always rejecting the coffee, though. Hi, Jay, Bill said. Yo, what's up? I replied. I was beginning to warm up to him. The sky, he replied and smiled. I couldn't hold in my smile, too. Good one. I'm going to get coffee. Want me to get you one? He asked. Yeah, I said reluctantly. How do you want it? Black, with sugar. Okay, I'll be back, he said and left. It was gradual, but I eventually forgave him when I realized that he was just trying to survive, but he went wrong about it. 3 days later. After a particularly long shift, Bill came to me while I was packing up to go home. He looked like he wanted to tell me something. Jay, he said. Yeah? I want to drive my car out, but your car is in the way, he said. Oh, sorry, let's go. If it was the old Bill, I knew how he would have said it. We were quiet as we walked to the car. I must say, Bill, I said, you've changed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, I said as I opened the car lock. Got an encounter or something? He chuckled after I spoke. I guess I realized that I was being a jerk and it is not cool, especially to one of my own. Maybe, I replied and opened the door to enter. It is not just in the skin, Jay, he said. I frowned and stared at him, trying to understand what he meant. What do you mean, not just in the skin, Bill? There was a long silence. He was staring at the ground for a long time before he finally found the courage to speak. I'm also gay. His voice went really low. What? I didn't hear you, man. I'm gay. I've always been attracted to men all my life. In fact, I had a crush on you one time. I'm waiting for the right time for you to break into a laugh, Billy the bully, I said, because it is not funny. It is not a joke, he said. Stop it right now, Bill. It is not funny anymore, I said, getting angry. I'm not joking, Jason, he said as solemnly as he could. I was dumbfounded. What? What do you mean you're gay? What do you mean you're attracted to men? It has been my secret. Why then have you been a jerk to me? I asked. It was just my first response to not be excluded by the guys like they did to you, he said. I was still very much in utter shock. So you couldn't beat them, so you joined them? Yeah, I want to apologize for that. I'm sorry for being a jerk to you. I did it all out of cowardice, and to not be a prey, but I forgot that I became a betrayer to one like me. I still can't believe this. I was in shock trying to reconcile the man who made my life hell with this confession. I'm sorry, Jason. I don't deserve to be forgiven by you, but I still want to know if you can find a place in your heart to forgive me, he said. I wanted to punch him in the face, but his genuineness softened my clenched fist and my heart. It would take me some time, Bill, I said. I still dislike you, but I'm glad you could finally come out of your shell. Thank you, but please don't tell anyone else. I would like to do it on my own time, he said. That's what I told Roger before he revealed it to all of you, I said. Thankfully, I'm not him. It's your choice. Thank you, he said. I nodded at him and he left. I began to wonder if it was a fever dream and at the same time waiting patiently for him to tell me it was all a joke. The following week, we became pretty close friends ever since, and he was the only person I spoke to at work. The others were always staring at us, shocked that enemies had become friends. The chief told us we had graduated early from anger management class and there was no need to do it till next month. I was passing by the locker room when I heard Jim's voice speaking. I see you and Jason are close now, Jim said. I immediately realized that he was talking to Bill. Yeah, got a problem with it? Bill asked. Nope, it is just quite shocking. Yeah, I guess I realized that I should stop acting all weird because of someone's sexuality. Your favorite color is red. Why should I make someone feel bad for choosing green? Whoa, okay, Jim said with a chuckle. You're gay now or what? There was a sudden silence in the room until Bill broke it with his words. I've always been, Bill said. Wait, what? Jim exclaimed. Bill didn't wait. He stormed out of the locker room to see me standing outside smiling at him. I'm proud of you, I said, and hugged him. Thank you, he said, and then we left. He had proven to me that I did not make a mistake forgiving him. The next day for us was like we were in high school, like we had a glow-up during the summer and everyone had to stop to gaze at us in the hallway. We did not even give a damn anyways. The same way they stared weirdly when it was only me was the way they stared at us. At first, Bill felt somehow weird about it, then he later got used to the attention, perhaps because he was not alone in it. At lunch, we were sitting at a separate table. It was them listening and watching us laugh. Soon we got a call that a building was on fire. We rushed into the firefighter van immediately after dressing up and we were on our way. Listen guys, Jim called our attention while we were on the way. This is not a drill, okay? It is a real fire this time, so we gotta work as a team. We gotta put our beef aside and do our jobs as firefighters, okay? Yes, Cap, we all replied. Bill, Jay, we're a team, right? He asked, stretching a handshake towards us. Bill and I looked at each other before I accepted the handshake. Bill shook him too. I see what you did there with beef, Jim, I said. I think the joke would have been more funnier if you said meat. The whole team erupted into laugh. The whole laughter died the second we saw the building on fire. Bill and I with some of the others were tasked with rescuing the civilians in the multi-story building. The fire was getting bigger by the minute and the air was already thick with smoke. Part of the building began collapsing gradually. We heard Jim yell to us to be quick. We all ran down out of the building, thinking we had rescued everyone. All my colleagues were outside the building, but I did not see Bill. Bill? I called. Where's Bill? Has anyone seen Bill? I asked worriedly from everyone. When last did you see him? Jim asked. We both went up to the... I was speaking when we all heard feedback on our radios before someone's voice shot out of them. Help! The voice said. I'm stuck! That's Bill! I yelled. Before I could think, I ran into the building, into the billowing smoke and raging fire. Screaming his name repeatedly, the building was already falling apart and the debris had begun to rain down like hail. Bill! I yelled. Where are you? I'm up here, he yelled back and grunted. My heart was beating fast as I raced up the flight of stairs. Bill, where are you? Talk to me. I'm here, he said weakly. It sounded like he was losing air. Wait for me, buddy, I said as I entered a room. I looked about and I didn't see anything through the thick smoke until I heard a faint grunt. I ran in the direction where the grunt had come from. I saw Bill weak and in pain, stuck under a large beam. Bill, I'm here, I yelled to him. I tried to lift the beam off him, but it was heavy. I tried again, but it wouldn't budge. I was getting scared. I looked around and found a smaller beam. I used it to pull the beam off him so I could pull him from under. It worked. Can you walk? I asked Bill, but he was too weak to answer. I carried him on my shoulder and went out of the room. Just as we left, the whole roof collapsed. As I ran down the stairs, I could feel the fire blazing at my legs. We were able to get out of the building before the situation got worse. By the time we were out, Bill was unconscious. The emergency was already on site and collected him from me, placed him on a stretcher, and took him away. I was very worried, hoping he would survive. The next 2 weeks. Soon, Bill was back to work. It was good seeing him hale and hearty. Seeing him under that beam in pain had me shaking, to be honest. "Hey," Bill said with a smile as he walked toward me. "Hey, dude," I said, then he hugged me. "Thank you for saving my life," he said in my ear. "You're welcome, man," I said. "How are you feeling?" "Feeling alive. I thought I was gonna die," he said and chuckled. "Well, you didn't. Welcome back." "Thanks," he said and sighed. "You know, Jay, I still feel guilty for everything I did." "Why? We're friends now." "Yeah, but you saved my life even with everything I did. I would still hold a grudge if I were you," he said, and I laughed. "It's cool. We're cool." "I'm sorry, Jay. I thought I was doing the right thing. I was being stupid," he said. "It's fine," I said. Then there was silence. It was just us in the locker room staring at each other until we heard footsteps approaching. A week later. Things were going great for both of us, and the other guys were now cool with us. Bill and I had been spending a lot of time together outside work. We became so close that our colleagues began to think there was more between Bill and me. To be honest, I had begun to feel that way toward him. One day, it was just us in the locker room packing, so we would be on our way home when I suddenly turned to him. I was shocked to see he was looking at me like he had expected it. Then I made an effort to speak, but it was at the same time he did. "You go first," I said. "No, you go first," he replied. "Okay," I said and smiled. "How do I say this?" "Say it any way you like." I still lingered even after he told me to say it any way I liked. For a while, I don't know what has been going on with me. I just have this kind of feeling when I see you and think of you. I think I like you, Bill. I think I do too." "Really?" I said. "Yeah," he said. "So, is this a way of asking if I'm free to go on a date or something?" "Looks like you read my mind," I said. "And what's your answer gonna be?" I asked nervously. "Let me think about it," he said and turned. Then he turned around suddenly. "Yes." "Really?" "Yeah," he said and smiled. "Okay, great. How's tomorrow night?" "Fine by me," he replied. "Okay, good. What were you gonna say earlier?" "You beat me to it already," he said. "Oh, I'll think about it," I said jokingly. "You already asked me," he replied with a smile. "No, I don't remember doing that," I said. "Well, I do," he said. Then we laughed, and then it faded into a smile. "I'll call you by 6 tomorrow," I said. "Okay, see you," he said. I smiled and walked away. The smile was on my face even when I reached my car and even when I was on my way home. I couldn't wait to be on the date with him. I began to wish there was a way I could turn the hands time faster to the good part where we kissed. Funnily enough, there was a time I wished I could turn the hands backwards when I never came out. Conclusion. After that day, we went on a few dates and eventually got into a relationship. It has been great so far, and you wouldn't believe, but Bill's more romantic than I thought he would be. The guys stopped their awkwardness around us, and work became a cool place for us. To be honest, I never saw love coming. Who would have thought my enemy was going to eventually be my lover? Not me, not Bill. It is crazy how love works. The end. Have you ever fallen in love with someone you once hated? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force. And stay wholesome.